This is Our Youth, a Pecha Kucha presentation by Christian Chirino and Alexia Pereira.
These are three different posters from the most popular productions of the play. It's obvious to the plain eye that each poster includes its characters rather than using symbols or art. Taking a step closer into the poster, one can notice a common thread. The focal point is the title.
Although the posters aren't drastically distinct from one another, there was a standout poster. This was the best in our opinion. This play is a coming-of-age story about New York kids, and we think that this poster utilizes the grunge and dark comedy aspects within the play.
The intrigue is in the details. What makes this poster superior is the vinyls on the bed to the small art posters on the wall. Even the font is similar to Smoke, and these three kids are no strangers to drugs and smoke. It perfectly executes the integrity of the play. It's simple and real and not a commercial blockbuster.
The choices made within the play are extremely valuable to the reality of the story. It's simply realism. The plot is packed from one day into the next morning. Three privileged Upper West Side kids smoking pot at a loss and facing failure while still living with their parents deems relatability.
The realistic approach of using relatable characters makes it an accessible story. Readers can find themselves relating to these characters, maybe not in their exact conflict, but sympathizing with them as people and their choices. This coming of age story utilizes their characters in a way that allows them to mess up as they try to figure out who they really are.
In performance, these strategies would attract specific audiences. It would attract young people, New Yorkers, and those looking for a rush. The language and characters in the play also draws in critics, being that it's a raw look into a young adult's emotions. It's certainly not PG.
The playwright Kenneth Lonergan looks to his family as influences in his art, resulting in his work mostly highlighting personal relationships. His work also showcases inner parts of someone that subconsciously are revealed in the most curious of ways. He wears a wristwatch set 15 minutes ahead to never be late. Ironically, this reveals much about him.
Lonergan earned an Academy Award nomination as Best Director for Manchester by the Sea, and won for Best Original Screenplay. However, he also wrote long play commercials for clients such as Weight Watchers. This variation of projects proves his versatility as a writer, taking projects that don't necessarily further his career but serve him as a writer.
In 1993, the Met produced Kenneth Lonergan's one act play Betrayal by Everyone at a short play festival. This was expanded into This Is Our Youth and opened off Broadway in 1998. After moving to the Douglas Fairbanks Theater, it proved to be one of Lonergan's biggest hits, even while being one of his earliest work.
The play premiered on Broadway at the Court Theater, in previews beginning August 18th, 2014, and opening September 11th, 2014, for a 20-week run. The cast starred Michael Cera, Kieran Culkin, and Tavi Gevinson. In 2003, Woody Harrelson directed a production of This Is Our Youth for the Berkeley Street Theatre in Toronto, Canada.
Dennis Ziegler is a 21-year-old typical, intimidatingly influential presence in his circle of friends with an inflated ego. He knows that by bringing his friends down, he builds relationships that will remain as he wants them to be.
Warren Straub is a 19-year-old who turns to his friend, Dennis, for reassurance when in trouble, even if he feels inferior doing so. He yearns for more from life and realizes living in New York City is not doing him any favors. His sister's passing strangely contributes to his development of compassion towards his abusive father.
Jessica Goldman is a 19-year-old who puts up a defensive front to the world to hide just how insecure she is. Is a bit shallow in the sense of her attraction to Warren, his famous father, and the idea of getting a penthouse room at the Plaza Hotel.
It is late March 1982. We are in Dennis's studio apartment, displayed in the play as a space fit for 2 to 3 characters. New York City's Upper West Side is bounded on the south by 59th Street, Central Park to the east, the Hudson River to the west, and 110th Street to the north.
Dennis gets a visit from his pal Warren, who got kicked out of his house and took $15,000 from his father. Fearful of Warren's dad, they plot a scheme. Buy cocaine, sell it, and the $15,000 is restored. Splitting journeys, Warren is left alone with Jessica. They open up to each other and have sex.
In the heat of it all, Warren develops feelings for Jessica, leading to arguments and her exit. The boys' plan backfires as money was spent and profit wasn't made. Dennis's dealer overdosed, antiques couldn't be sold, and cocaine was spilled. At an end, they do what any other 20-year-old boy would do: smoke pot. Warren returns home.
My initial response while reading this was how familiar the characters were. I'm usually a sucker for a coming of age story, and this was that, but much more. Jessica was probably the most relatable character for me because of her interest in fashion, and she has goals for herself, unlike Warren. And although I thought it was ludicrous of Warren to keep spending his father's money, I still didn't hate that it happened. Not to mention, it was easy to imagine this as a movie or in people I know. My mind wandered into full evaluations of my own life and what I have to offer as a young adult.
When reading This Is Our Youth, I could not stop thinking of myself in the plot. The reactions and responses Dennis had an effect on me as I placed myself in Warren's shoes. I related to Warren's anxiety as he progressed in the play. However, I was also able to focus on each character's humanity and empathize with their actions. While reading this play, in my room in one sitting, I could not help but picture the play taking place where I was. It really made me reflect on how different I am as a reader to the characters in the play. I would find myself pausing and thinking about how I personally would react to the situations, coming to a conclusion that I would never get myself into the situation in the first place.